Right, Jack, I'm just going to get straight into this. So, Guanyu Zhou is absolutely having an abysmal second half to this first part of the season. What is going wrong, and does he deserve a seat in F1?
Now, we're saying second half of the first part of the season. It's the last two races.
I'd argue it's been going on longer than that.
Well, I've got our driver ratings.
Yeah.
And Guanyu Zhou's driver ratings. 4, first race of the season.
Yeah, he had good bar rating.
3.
Okay, so
which
not bad.
is your normal. And then he did have 2 2s.
Yes.
Then he got back up and did 3, 3, 3.
Yeah.
And then 2 in Monaco, and then less said about Canada, the better.
Yeah.
So it's the last 2 races. He got himself back on form for the 3 before Monaco.
Yep.
So you can't. So to say the second half of this first half of the season has been bad, I think it's down to a bit of recency bias of the last 2 races.
It could be, but it feels more like it's encompassed. Like the first 2 races, I think up until after Bottas kind of showed him up in Japan, since then it's kind of felt like,
I mean,
no matter what happens, I think his performances are being masked by the fact that he's driving a literal wheelie bin of a car.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like we're saying Bottas. Would you say Bottas has had a better season than Zhou so far?
yes, absolutely.
Let me go through the ratings.
What's our ratings for Bottas?
Bottas first race compared to Zhou. Bottas 2, Zhou 4.
Yep.
Second race, Bottas 2, Zhou 3.
Yep.
Third race, Bottas 3, Zhou 2. Fourth race, Bottas 4, Zhou 2. So it's quite equal.
Yep. Relatively equal.
But first 4. Next race, Bottas 5, Zhou 3.
Yep.
Next race, Bottas 2, Zhou 3.
Yep.
Next race, Bottas 2, Zhou 3.
Uh-huh.
Next race, Bottas 3, Zhou 2. And then Canada, we know Bottas 3, Zhou 1.
Yeah.
So it is equal. It's equal. Zhou's slightly worse. Zhou's slightly worse, but it's equal.
It is
season.
Equal from the ratings that we've given.
How can we say, oh, Bottas is this amazing driver who should stay in Formula One, to Zhou does not belong in Formula One? That's too harsh on Zhou.
I get your point. However, right, I think this is a situation where you can't just look at the driver ratings, because obviously that encompasses our general opinion, right? Our general opinion
of the whole weekend. And how Zhou's not been awful for about 5 of the races.
However, I will have to say, right, I think it is slightly misguided for 2 reasons. 2 reasons, right? Our ratings for the weekends that have come are obviously also based off expectation. Bottas is the number 1 in that team.
Yeah.
I can guarantee there has been several occasions, and in the back of my head, I can think of maybe 1 or 2 times where you haven't graded Bottas as well as maybe you would grade Zhou if he was in the same position, right? We don't expect Zhou to beat Bottas, but we don't expect him to be a second off him in qualifying. The thing is, Zhou's performances have been masked by the fact that they're driving a tractor, and Bottas isn't in any better position because he can't really prove what he can do. But from what we know about both the drivers, Bottas has had better races, and the races where he has done better, he has been substantially more ahead of Zhou than he probably should be.
Yeah.
And Bottas is a proven race winner, so for me, Zhou has to go.
I don't think Zhou has to go. You got, what I will say is Zhou has come the closest to getting points for that team with an 11th place finish at Bahrain.
Yes, he did.
Zhou has been the closest, not Bottas. China, Bottas, we gave him that 5.
Bottas has had a good weekend at China.
Yeah. I think we may have underrated Zhou on that weekend. with Zhou get Q3 as well as Bottas. Zhou drove a good race just behind Bottas, like literally the position behind. I think we slightly underrated Zhou that race as well, giving Bottas a 5 in that regard. So I don't think Zhou's had an awful season. I think we're being harsh, and I think recency bias has come into play. Don't get me wrong, if he continues this form, he can fuck off. But if you can turn it around and start getting threes consistently, and don't get me wrong, he needs to turn it around after Canada, because if it's more that Canada performance, he can go mid-season. But if you can turn it around and do the performances that we saw in the races before Monaco, or at the start of this season, then he's a driver that should give him another opportunity in Formula One, because that car's dog. Don't get me wrong, like he's not been given an easy time in that car. Like I think a lot of drivers will struggle in that position, and he's got to try and maximise. Like Canada, like the car was dog, but he's got to do better than what he was doing. Like that was shocking.
The only thing that for Canada,
he looked like an F2 driver there.
Canada for me, the only saving grace for Canada was that he managed to keep it on the road, which is quite impressive because Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez, drivers that you expect to be race winners, didn't keep it on the road. So Zhou did well in that regard. It's just that he didn't capitalise at all. And he's in the slowest car, but he's finishing 15th. He's finishing 15th.
Yeah,
and the last place.
It was a long way behind as well.
Like it's ridiculous. He can't be doing that.
No, he can't. And if he keeps doing that, then it's a question. Maybe you should go. Like maybe you should have another season. But if he can regain the form that we saw before Monaco for a few races and at the start of the season, especially the Bahrain race, then we can look at it in terms of he's having a hard time in that tractor of a car, and maybe he does deserve another year. Give him a slightly better car. If he's still that dog behind Bottas, bin him off halfway through the season.
Yeah.
But I think recency bias when it comes to Zhou, especially in the last two races, have not helped us in our overall thoughts on Zhou this season.
Yeah, you make a good point then. I mean, that China really put it into perspective, and his Bahrain race. Yeah, maybe everyone is a bit underrating Zhou. Maybe ever so slightly. But I
wouldn't say underrating. I think recency bias is playing a part, but I don't think Zhou's had the worst season. There's drivers on our ratings that we can go through, and let's be honest, our ratings, they're our opinion, but it's not like we hate a driver, they're going low. It's a solid opinion to have.
This is why we have our driver ratings, because we know recency bias plays a massive part. And one of the reasons why we introduced them was because last season, everyone at the end was saying how much of a better season Charles had than Carlos. And we were going, hang on a minute. Didn't Carlos outperform Charles or was on pace, if not beating him, for a majority of the first half of the season? So we were like, well, if we sort of do these driver ratings, it will sort of tell us, overall, who's had a good season by the end. And we won't just go off the last 5 races.
No, yeah. I mean, I think Zhou needs to turn it around. You're right. Zhou needs to turn it around now.
Yeah.
Two races, you can't go 3 in a row. Because if you go 3 in a row, it's just a downward spiral.
Yeah.
But give him a chance for a couple races. We're getting back into the European season after a bit of a Canada skirmish.
Yep.
And this is the crunch time now. European season's always the crunch time.
I think drivers that need to go will be exposed in Spain, because it's not a track where you can't.
Maybe not Spain, but in the next couple of races, drivers that need to go will definitely be exposed.
No, I think definitely Spain, because it's a track where it's.
What have we got? We've got Spain. we've got Austria, then we've
Yep.
got Britain.
Yeah.
They're the three races. Them three tracks are tracks. Like, if you can't perform, if you're dog at all three of them tracks, you shouldn't be in Formula One. Simple as that.
Spain's the classic default testing
Spain's
track.
yes.
You've got to perform at Spain. If you don't perform at Spain, it exposes you.
It does expose you.
Expose the slow drivers.
I mean, if Spain goes badly for you for whatever reason, but Austria and Britain go well, you can excuse Spain as an outlier. But it's now crunch time for Zhou and many other drivers.
Logan Sargent. I think it's too late for him. I think it's too late for Logan, personally. I think
it is too late for Logan.
I think Sainz is already pretty much on the dotted line for Williams.
It's
close.
Sainz is either at Audi or Williams.
Yeah, I think Logan Sargent. For Magnussen, though,
it's crunch time.
It's crunch time for Magnussen. Had a good race weekend in Canada, to be fair to him.
Yes, I've gone over his ratings as well. They're not awful, but they're not amazing.
No, they're not great.
Same with Lance Stroll. I think these races could be crunch time for Lance.
Yep, Lance has not had a good season, despite him finishing 7th. So
you say Lance hasn't had a good season. Do I have to go through his ratings?
No, but we give him. No. Lance has not had. You say let's go through his ratings, right? Right. We expect the worst.
I'm looking at his ratings. He hasn't had a good season.
No, he has not. Lance has not had a good season at all.
Man's had 3 1s.
Exactly. That's horrible. I think Logan Sargent's the only person that's had a worse season than him in our ratings, anyway.
Yeah.
But either way, let us know in the comments below what you think. Should Zhou stay in F1? And if he should, then will he stay at Kicks Albert or will he find somewhere else? Maybe Alpine? Who knows? Let us know in the comments and we'll see you in the next one.